Yo.
Welcome back, people of Earth and other planets. This is the King's Castle. King James along with Blair Chopin. And we are talking tonight about the NFL Draft. More specifically, the future of some of the teams. Based off the first couple rounds. My question to you, Blair, is this. We talked about who some of the new faces are that we may look to see in the first couple rounds for some of the first picks and our team, the Panthers. But the thing I'm concerned about is this. Our coach, Ron Rivera. He had an amazing season, as we talked about last time as the coach, bringing them to 14-0, and then taking them all the way to the Super Bowl. But my question is, we've seen in years past, especially with our coaching staff, that they start off really strong, and then they stumble, and depending on how far we go, they keep having these reoccurring mistakes as far as the way they handle things. So, my question is, do you think Ron Rivera will be able to bounce back on his end, because he started off so strong this year, but then stumbled at the last second. And you saw what happened with John Fox. He started strong his first couple seasons, but then he stumbled, and we didn't go back till just this past year. So can Rivera bounce back, and can we be as successful?
Yeah, I definitely think they can. I mean, I don't think there was anything wrong with the way they finished last season. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose in the Super Bowl, but they finished with, I think, a total of 16-2, maybe. So that's
right.
That's an absurdly good record, and there's no pressure on Ron Rivera's job at all. The only thing I'll say is the difference between Fox is a fine coach as well. The difference between what's going to happen, why I wouldn't worry what happened with Fox, what happened with Rivera is Fox rode the coattails of Jake Delhomme, and Jake Delhomme only had a short window to be successful, and he was rather inconsistent. We talked about the importance of having a good quarterback earlier and the impact on this draft.
Right.
I mean, Ron Rivera is going to have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback for at least like the next 10 years. So they're going to be like, and if you have a player that's that good a quarterback, with all these other young players they have Luke Kuechly walked out for a long time, K'Wan Short. They have one of the best GMs in football. I mean, they're going to be in contention for a while.
Maybe so. And we'll see. But the other thing I'm concerned about is...
You've got a lot of concerns for a 16-2 team.
Is the... Well, I don't want to get my hopes up. Because, let's face it, because we're from Concord, I am a Carolina fan. But I'm trying to be unbiased and keep it real. So my question is this. On the other side of the coin, we have the defending champions, the Broncos. Now, they are on a run. They've got that momentum, obviously. But with Peyton Manning now gone, how can they bounce back? Or can they hang on to that momentum without their star?
Yeah, obviously the Broncos' situation is a bit different because the Broncos don't need a star at quarterback. Their defense is so good, as we saw in the Super Bowl, that they just really need someone who can manage a game and make a few plays and not just kind of ride the ship. Peyton Manning was that guy. And they thought, well, Brock Osweiler could be that guy. Their backup who started in multiple games last season. He ended up signing with the Texans. So the thing you're going to watch for tonight is San Francisco really wants to cut ties with their quarterback, Colin Kaepernick. And I would think the Broncos would be in play for that.
So you see Kaepernick going to the Broncos?
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense.
Well, I will say this as a fan of the game, someone who's been following it for years. Whoever replaces Manning has some big shoes to fill. They said the same thing in Indianapolis when he left because they retired his jersey. I'm telling you, whoever replaces Manning on the Broncos will have some big shoes to fill. I hope they're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but he had a good career in Denver, but the last couple years he really slipped. His play really slipped. So it's kind of like, well, who's gonna like? It's not going to be that difficult to replace him if they could just find someone who can manage the game, because that's basically what he did last year. That's like saying it's going to be really tough to find someone, the Lakers, to find someone who was good as Kobe in his prime.
Right.
But they might be better off without him since his play declined so much over the past couple of years.
But on the other hand, as far as Manning's concerned, he bounced back from a lot of injuries. I mean, he came back from a broken neck twice.
Yeah, he did have some back problems
during the course of his career.
Yeah, I think that impacted his play. But, I mean, the Broncos, I mean, they might be better off with Colin Kaepernick next year than they would be with Peyton Manning for another season.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But another thing I'm concerned about is one of our old rivals.
We got a lot of concerns.
The Saints.
The Saints. Why are you concerned about the Saints?
Because, as I said, they're a rival of ours in the NFC division.
They are?
Yeah. There have been times when we've had to play teams like the Saints and the Falcons twice.
We do, every year.
But who do you see being the wild card, if you will, for either of those sides?
Yeah, I mean, in our division, I guess the Falcons, I mean, they were pretty injury-riddled last year. If they can get healthy again and get a few breaks, I think they'd be better. I'm not really worried about the Saints. I think they're going to be headed for a huge decline as Drew Brees ages. Tampa's going to be really on the upswing. I think they can finish with an above 500 record and be fine.
By the way, we should mention, for the benefit of our viewers, what do you mean when you say injury-ridden as far as Atlanta? What happened to them?
Yeah, they just got a lot of unfortunate breaks last season.
Like broken bones or stuff like that? Or
yeah, all kinds of
old muscles?
Yeah. So they were pretty injury-riddled last year. They didn't really have a great record in close games. And usually what happens is, in close games, usually teams finish around 500. Which means if the game's decided around 7 points or less, if they win 4 of those games, they'll lose 4.
So
Atlanta had a really bad record in those games. You'd expect that to even out next year, therefore their record would improve. You'd expect them not to be as injury-riddled. That will improve, and I just think they'll be better. I think they're going to find someone in the draft. I saw them getting Miles Jack in the draft. If they get him in the draft, then I'm worried if I'm a Panthers fan, because that's the best player in the entire draft. So that would scare me.
Well, I think you've just given me that he was just saying that name.
Miles Jack. Yeah, it is a scary name. It is our annual
Miles Jack. Woo! Just kidding, folks.
Yeah, he's a really unique player. So what you're gonna remember I said this because I want to make a point to say this. There's not a lot of players like him, Miles Jack. He plays linebacker, but he just knocks the crap out of people. He's got great closing speed. Yet he can drop in coverage like a cornerback.
So
he can blitz off the edge. He's like a 5-tool player.
Let me ask you a question. We know we have really strong members on either side here. Give us the tail of the tape, if you will, between the difference between him, Miles Jack, and someone like, say, Greg Olsen for the Panthers.
Well, they play different positions. So, like, Greg Olsen is more like a tight end who's more of a receiver. Okay, so he's going to be catching passes. Miles Jack is on the defensive side. He's a linebacker. He plays a similar position of Luke Kuechly and those guys.
Right.
He probably plays more outside.
Right.
Usually linebackers can only be relied upon in coverage to guard people who, a bit slower tight ends. But Miles Jack, he can guard the Greg Olsens of the world. He can guard the really fast receivers. And he can also blitz off the edge. So he's like a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a cornerback. He can play all 3 phases of a defense, which is why I've got a man crush on him. I think like if he falls out of the top 10, then all these people should be fired. I know there's like slight concerns about his injury history and everything, but please stop it.
When you say all these people, you mean the management with the team, right?
Right. I think New York, the Giants pick at number 10, and that would be perfect for them. That would be a perfect player for them. Yeah. If they don't, if he falls out of the top 10, I just, don't see why. I don't get it.
Well, I would think the only reason somebody would fall out of the top 10 if they're that good would be due to, as you said, the injury history, because it all depends on how often they play and their stats. So we'll just see. But I will say this.
There's a lot of good players in the draft, though.
They say in sports that size doesn't matter, and yeah, that's true.
That's not true.
But as far as something to be concerned about, yes, it does. Because if we're talking about a 300-pound strong suit here, somebody's in trouble.
What are you talking about?
A little observational humor, folks. I'm partially kidding.
I have no idea. You want to take a break? Because I have
Yeah, I think-
what that meant. I have no idea how to follow up on that.
I think we should probably take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.